Does baking powder really belong in cutout sugar cookies? Some bakers swear by it for a lighter texture, while others say it ruins the perfect shape. So today I'm putting this debate to the test, baking 2 batches, one with baking powder and one without, to see the difference once and for all. Both of these sugar cookie doughs have the exact same ingredients, except for one thing. Baking powder works by releasing gas when it reacts with moisture and heat, which expands the dough slightly as it bakes. That's why cookies with baking powder tend to have a lighter, softer texture, but that same reaction can also cause slight spreading, making the edges of the cookie less defined, which is an especially important thing if you want clean, sharp edges for cookie decorating. So you might be saying to yourself, yeah, that's exactly what I want, so that sounds perfect for me. But just remember, when you leave baking powder out, then you don't get those extra air pockets forming inside the cookie. The cookie stays exactly the same, and the texture is a bit denser, and that can leave it a bit dry too. So let's get these cookies baked and see how we did. Okay, so the first question is, can we tell any difference by appearance? I'm very partial to my recipe, but if I'm being honest, yes, I can see a little shape was lost in the baking process. So some of the edges are not quite as crisp as the cookie without baking powder, particularly this edge here. But I mean, they look pretty good otherwise. I don't see too much of a difference. I would certainly use both of these to decorate cookies. So next up, texture. Let's see how they compare when we break them, see what's inside. The cookie without baking powder does feel a bit harder. So let's see if we can get a good break out of this. Okay, so personally, I'm not loving how crispy that sounded. Let's break this one. Okay, that was a much slower bend. And I can tell already that this cookie with the baking powder is a lot softer than this one. So let's look in the inside and see how it compares. Let's see if we can notice anything in the crumb. So this is the one with baking powder. This is without. So thickness, they look similar in thickness, but I can tell this one has much more of an open crumb, which makes me think it'll be a little bit softer just based on that. This one is a bit of a tighter crumb, could lead to a much drier cookie. So I'm gonna give it a taste test and let's see how they both taste. Okay, so the one without baking powder is definitely on the drier side. Definitely not what I'm used to having. I always preferred my cookie recipe because it is such a soft cookie. So let's give this one a try compared to this. Yeah, that's what I like. Much softer, a little more of a chew, and it tastes better because of the texture's a little better. This is just kind of dry and dense. Like biting into it requires you to chew a little bit more versus this one, which just has like a fluffier inside and is a much softer cookie. It kind of falls apart in your mouth a little more. So I would say, yes, you could remove the baking powder from your cutout sugar cookies and it will help you retain the shape a little more. But for a tastier, softer, in my opinion, more delicious cookie, I would stick to the baking powder. I think it just is way better in taste, and I would much rather sacrifice a perfect edge in place of having a much tastier cookie. It just tastes so much better. I'm sorry. There's nothing worse than a decorated cookie that is brittle and hard and crunchy and like has a vengeance to like break your teeth. This is the one without baking powder. It's pretty, but it's just too hard to chew. It makes such a big difference to just have that little bit of baking powder inside of the recipe, and it makes such a nicer, softer, more enjoyable cookie. That's my vote, and yeah, hopefully it helps you.